Let's jump right in. Have you ever just stopped and wondered if the reality we experience every single day is actually just a tiny fraction of a massive, meticulously programmed universal machine? Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating, deeply structured metaphysical system. We're going to explore the writings of Xu, specifically focusing on two core texts, the prologue to the chapters on life and the Psalm of Life. Rather than just giving us vague spiritual concepts, this framework presents a highly detailed, systematic view of existence. It literally attempts to map out absolutely everything, from the strict origins of consciousness all the way down to the ultimate destiny of humanity within this grand cosmic hierarchy. We're going to walk through this system exactly as it's presented in the source texts, neutrally uncovering these profound and honestly sometimes surprising concepts step by step.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the cosmic blueprint, then move to the grand hierarchy, the cycle of forms, the human crossroads, and finally unlocking life's mysteries.
All right, let's dive into Section 1, the cosmic blueprint, defining existence.
So to figure out where we actually fit into the universe, we first need to look at how this source text uniquely defines existence itself. And it's pretty wild. According to Xu, existence is built on a very specific, almost mathematical equation, 1 + 1 = 1. The text defines life, and notice that's spelled in all capital letters, as fundamentally a non-material structure with spirituality at its absolute core. To have a complete life, you must have two totally distinct components coming together. First, the intangible spiritual entity. This is your thoughts, your consciousness, your soul. And second, you need a tangible flesh body. The text really emphasizes that these are completely separate elements. It's only when that intangible spiritual driver pairs perfectly with the physical carrier that you get one complete, functioning life.
Now, what's really interesting here is the sharp line the text draws between capital L-I-F-E and lowercase life. Capital life is that eternal, non-material structure combining spirit and body that we literally just talked about. Lowercase life, on the other hand, is simply the journey itself. The text describes this lowercase life as a single-entry visa in this mortal world, complete with specified travel dates. So think about it like this. You, the eternal structure, are just here on a temporary tourist visa. But unlike a real vacation, the profound catch here is that we don't get to choose our departure date. We're simply visitors passing through a completely fixed timeline.
Moving right along to Section 2, the grand hierarchy, mapping the universe. So, with that foundational blueprint in place, the text builds out this vast, tiered cosmic ecosystem. It outlines a strict universe-wide hierarchy, and there's a fascinating inverse relationship at play here. Down at the bottom, you have low-level lives, right? Insects, microbes, animals. They have super low energy, but they're highly tangible, extremely visible, and they exist in massive quantities. Now, humans sit right in the middle as intermediate, tangible lives. We have more energy, but our physical forms are fixed. The text says we are uneasy to change. But as you move up the hierarchy to high-level lives, like celestials, Buddhas, or what the text calls the greatest creator, the energy level absolutely skyrockets, while physical visibility drops to zero. These highest beings are totally intangible and completely invisible, but because of their immense energy, they possess the ultimate power to change forms at will.
Okay, let's head into Section 3, the cycle of forms, birth, death, and transition.
So, how do all these various lives actually enter the mortal world in the first place? Well, the text states that all lives are created with preset programs, and there are exactly 4 program methods of birth. The first 2, births from eggs and wombs, allow for natural, sustained reproduction. The second 2, births from humidity or by transformation and separation, happen automatically and really rapidly in large numbers. Think algae or parasitic microbes. But here's the crazy vulnerability of those last 2 categories. They rely almost entirely on precise environmental factors. Imagine your entire existence depending on just a slight shift in temperature or humidity. If the environment shifts even a fraction, the text notes that these lower forms go extinct instantly.
And this brings us to a really accessible, honestly brilliant analogy from the text regarding mortality. Death isn't framed as a final end, it's simply stepping out of a vehicle. The physical body is basically nothing more than a car carrying the spiritual entity. So when a human dies, it merely means the biological car has fulfilled its mission, broken down, and returned to dust. Meanwhile, the driver, the true intangible spiritual consciousness, is totally unharmed. It just gets out and moves on to its next journey.
However, there is a stark, pretty unforgiving rule in this framework regarding the afterlife, and it's based entirely on how a life was initially born. If you're born from an egg or a womb, like a human, a dog, a bird, you never truly die. Your spiritual entity simply leaves that broken car and transitions eternally. But if a life is born from humidity or transformation, the text states that they perish thoroughly and permanently once that physical body dies. For them, there is no eternal driver, there's no continuing journey. It's just a complete and permanent erasure.
Which brings us to Section 4, the human crossroads, the intermediate state.
Zooming in on our own daily experience, the text outlines humanity's incredibly precarious position within this vast spiritual hierarchy. Being an intermediate life is definitely not a safe harbor. It's a highly volatile middle ground. We are under constant pressure. Once we're born into this mortal world, our non-material structures are changing every single day based on our consciousness. If we're careless with our minds, the text warns that our structures will physically degrade into lower animals in the next cycle. And honestly, no one wants the pressure of knowing a bad attitude might literally downgrade them to a pig in the next life, right? But the flip side is equally powerful. If we are careful and intentional, those exact same human structures can elevate into higher invisible beings, like celestials or Buddhas.
So, if our daily consciousness is constantly shifting us up or down, what exactly is the specific mechanism that locks in our eternal transition? When that single-entry visa finally expires, what is the ultimate judge?
According to Zhu Feng's framework, the answer might genuinely surprise you. It isn't necessarily about a lifetime accumulation of karma or some massive ledger of your good and bad deeds. It literally all comes down to the immediate pre-death state of consciousness. That absolute final moment dictates your next reality. If, at the exact moment of death, you possess a celestial's consciousness, you ascend to a fairyland world. If your mind is locked into a purely human consciousness, you return to the human mortal world for another round. But if your immediate pre-death mindset has degraded to an animal's consciousness, driven by base instincts or rage, you fall straight into the animal world or even hell. This massive insight dramatically raises the stakes of our everyday mindset, doesn't it?
Now for our final section, Section 5, Unlocking Life's Mysteries, the Ultimate Imperative.
Given our highly sensitive position at this cosmic crossroads, what exactly are we supposed to be doing with our time here? Well, the framework sets up a pretty severe contrast. It states unequivocally that the daily grind we're so used to, prioritizing money, power, status, and beauty, is essentially a giant trap. Those who obsess over the material are doomed to remain confused and ignorant forever. The only way out of that loop, the only way to transcend to a higher life space, is to unseal your spiritual perception. You have to actively wake up to the non-material reality driving the physical world if you want to elevate your existence.
And the text is highly specific about what awaits those who actually do wake up from that material obsession. It states there are exactly 8 mysteries of life. Now, it doesn't just hand over the answers. Instead, it treats these 8 mysteries as this highly structured scavenger hunt for the soul. For those who unseal their perception, your new mission is to actively seek out, study, and explore these specific mysteries so you can continually upgrade your non-material structure.
To truly understand the energy behind this pursuit, we turn to a section called The Psalm of Life. And here, the tone shifts beautifully from strict universal mechanics into something incredibly vibrant and poetic. Existence isn't portrayed as some heavy burden you have to bear. Instead, life is described as a joyful, moving force of nature, like a stream wandering, cheering, and leaping joyfully through gorges before finally, peacefully merging into the vast cerulean ocean.
The poetry just continues from there, painting an image of life not as something to be hoarded or locked away in a safe box, but as a fiercely burning rainbow of flowing light. It's meant to decorate the firmament, burning itself fully before transitioning its energy into other forms. It's just a profoundly dynamic view of the soul's journey. You are meant to be a brilliant, temporary, fierce flash of energy across the universe.
Synthesizing this entire framework, the text leaves us with 4 core philosophical takeaways. These are the highest imperatives for any human holding a mortal visa. The most lofty action you can take is to explore life. The most significant thing is to study it. The most joyful thing is to revere it. And the most peaceful thing you can do is simply to march forward along life's natural trajectory. Essentially, this is the exact roadmap for how the driver upgrades their vehicle for the next cycle. So knowing that your daily consciousness dictates your eternal trajectory, where will you put your focus? Will you prioritize the fleeting material world, Or will you unseal your spiritual perception to explore the inextricable mystery of life? It's definitely a profound thought to ponder as you go about your day. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.